In this video, we're going to explore the cost of living in New York City versus Sarasota, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, Mariah Taliaferro from Premier Sotheby's. I'm very excited to dive into this video. New York City is probably my favorite place to visit, outside of course Sarasota. And I just love it because every time I go, I spend the weekend, I walk 30 miles. There's so much to explore, so much to see, and it's such a vibrant area. I can't help but think about what life would actually be like to live there. The only thing is every time I dive into the research and actually look at the cost of living in New York City versus Sarasota, it's really hard to beat our lifestyle and our standard of living. So before we dive in, click that like button, subscribe to my channel. That's going to tell YouTube to show my video to other people. So focusing on the cost of living in Sarasota versus New York, let's just talk about property taxes. Surprisingly, the property taxes in New York City are actually lower than they are in Sarasota. The average tax rate is about 0.6%, whereas in Sarasota, it's about 0.8%. Now, one advantage of owning property in Florida is homestead exemption and the Save Our Homes, which caps the appreciation every year to 3%. In New York, the cap is 6%, and over 10 years, it can only go up to 20%. So we have a much better cap on the appreciation of our properties and how that relates to your taxes. In general, though, the cost of living in New York is exceptionally higher, about 83%. That's from your food costs, restaurants, utilities, everything you can think of. It's significantly more to live in New York than in Sarasota. Sales tax also is about 8.84% in New York, and that's because there's a use tax if you're purchasing any property or anything outside of, or services even outside of New York, and you use them in your state. There's a use tax. We don't really have a use tax in Florida. I mean, there is one, but it's only under certain circumstances, and our tax rate is about 6 to 7%, depending upon the type of product and service that you're choosing. So there's another big savings. But the biggest savings, of course, is that Sarasota and Florida in general does not have state income tax, whereas New York does, and it's pretty significant. So your state income tax, you already know this, is 4% up to 10.6%. And if you're, let's say, an individual making $1 million, that can be a $68,000 savings just in your state income tax. Now, real estate is the biggest component to that high cost of living in New York City. If you want to own property in New York City, you're looking at spending $2,000 per square foot or more for a property. In Sarasota, we can find a beautiful condominium that's downtown for about $500 a square foot. If you want to be on the waterfront or on the beach, it can be upwards of $1,700 a square foot. So it really does depend upon the age and the style and, of course, the location. So let's look at some of the options here right now. This is in downtown Sarasota. The zip code is 34236. 34236 is kind of known to be one of the better zip codes in Sarasota. So as you're probably looking at this, everything is pending. That's just because inventory is incredibly low right now. But this just gives you an idea on what the overall offerings are. The first one here is a condominium at the Ritz-Carlton. This is a condominium at a brand new modern building called The View, where you have unobstructed, gorgeous views. More videos on that to come. Again, Ritz-Carlton. This one here is called Beau Ciel, and Beau Ciel is a boutique building overlooking the water and a beautiful bayfront park. This one here is at a brand new pre-construction condominium building that's also boutique, that's in a subdivision that's very private, but just 5 minutes from downtown. And then you can also get a beachfront condo where you walk right out your door and you're right on the beach. So there are a number of amazing condominium options. If we go to single family homes as well, you can find other options. Now in Sarasota, to have a home on the waterfront will cost more money. So you really have to be in the $3 to $5 million range to be on the water in a single family home in the 34236 zip code. However, you can get a lot of beautiful homes that are in a neighborhood called Westa Trail, which is considered to be one of the best neighborhoods because of the walkability to downtown. We have videos about that neighborhood if you want to check it out. And other communities like Indian Beach, Sapphire Shores, which is closer to the Ringling Museum. So there you have it, the cost of living in Sarasota versus New York City. And as we're looking at all these factors, it's understandable why so many people are coming down here and why so many people from New York actually call Sarasota their permanent home or second home. It's easy to fly back and forth to New York City. You just hop on United from Sarasota Bradenton International Airport and get into Newark or JFK in a matter of 2.5 hours. So lifestyle is great, the cost of living is much lower, and I think you're gonna really like it here. If we can help you in your relocation process, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much for tuning in.